Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see, they are doing some class tuning and I haven't done one of these videos in quite some time. I just haven't really seen a huge need to because every time they do one of these, it's not really anything like huge. So this kind of threw me off. I was unexpected for this. So there is PvP tuning and PvE tuning. I will basically be talking about this from a PvP standpoint in my opinion. And I'll be giving my thoughts on it and let me know at the end of the video what you guys think of this, and of course let's go ahead and begin. So this is the PvE tuning. This will be going live of course at the Tuesday August 13th, and this was posted on the 9th. I know not everybody always reads the forums, so you may miss this, so I just thought I'd do a video on it for you guys like I used to. Like I said, this is the PvE tuning. Frost Death Knight getting a 5% damage increase, which in my opinion Frost has been feeling a lot better this patch. It's still in my opinion one of the worst melees out of all of them, like Arms Warrior who has the Mortal Strike, and Rogues who can just chain CCU and have their toolkit, Demon Hunter, which they have the toolkit, what they have. Just comparing Frost to all of the other specs in the game, I feel like Frost needed the buffs. I know this is for PvE, but PvP will be really nice. So that's my thoughts on the whole Frost DK buffs. I'm speaking it for basically for PvP. I know this is PvE, so you guys don't have to get mad at me in the comments. I know it's about PvE, and that's why these classes are getting buffed. So next is Unholy. Unholy is basically one of the strongest specs in the game right now, so them getting a damage buff is going to be even more scary, but I've already read this ahead of time, and there will be something in the PvP section later on, so you guys don't have to freak out. Yes, it's still a damage buff, and they definitely, in my opinion, didn't really need it, but like I said, it's PvE tuning, so that's the reason why they're doing it. Same thing for Destruction Warlock. They were one of the most powerful specs in the game right now, and like I said, it's PvE tuning, so that's the whole reason why they're damage buffing it. But Destruction, in my opinion, did not really need a damage buff. Next up is Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior PvE damage buff again. For PvP, I never really had anything for like arms. I feel like their damage is fine. It's just always been their survivability that's been really, really bad. So I don't think they really needed the damage buff, but that's just my opinion. I think the last set of buffs they did buff Arms Warrior, or was it a few buffs ago? I feel like they recently did buff Arms Warrior. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I remember seeing stuff about arms before. Next is Rogue. Blade Fury now strikes nearby enemies for 30% of normal damage with 45%. Keep your wits about you as an Azerite traits, which increase your Sinister Strike to strike again by 3% was 5%, and the maximum number of stacks has been increased to 33%. So this isn't really, I guess, going to be not going to change more from PvP, I'm assuming. I don't know much about Outlaw. Next is Shaman Healer. Healing Surge and Healing Wave have been increased by 10%, and the mana cost has been reduced. Healing Rain has been increased by 20%. Riptide has been increased by 15%. Or I should say heal over time, increased by 15%. Wellspring healing has increased by 15%. So basically, if you're a Shaman Healer, you get some nice buffs. So, yeah, that's really about all there is to it. I think maybe they needed it. I know the strongest healers, I think, in PvP wise at the moment are Holy Pally and Resto Druid. So I can't really speak for healer, and I'm not going to spread false information, or at least try not going to. But yeah. Next up is now the player versus player tuning. Player versus player, Heart of Azeroth traits. So now all tier 3 Azeroth traits such as the Protection and the Visage are now reduced to 20% in PvP instead of 50%. So now it's even lower. So the reason why they wanted to do that was to see sustained damage become a greater source of pressure in arenas, but the passive healing provided by these traits offsets that much damage. Honestly, I think the traits, every trait being 50% now, it's I feel like they probably don't need to do 50% anymore. Honestly, that's just my opinion. I've seen some other people say the same thing lately, but they decided to lower the tier 3 traits even more. Honestly, I don't even think the traits are for that row aren't that impressive anymore, but that's just me. Okay, now for the Unholy Death Knight, which I was talking about earlier. Necrotic Strike is now 5% of your maximum health, a target's maximum health instead of 7. So now the Necrotic Strike is going to be nerfed by 2%, so it's going to be a little slightly bit easier, I guess, to face them for less pressure for healers. So if you. What was I going to say? Basically, I feel like that was needed, especially with their 5% damage buff they were getting, because they had to compensate somewhere. Unholy is definitely one of the strongest specs in the game at the moment, and I've been playing a lot of Unholy. So yeah, Unholy was definitely very, very strong, and I feel like at least they had to compensate somewhere. So the second thing they are nerfing is the melee attack, damage, and attack speed of Ray's Abomination. So by 30%, that's actually quite a bit in my opinion. That actually is definitely a lot. And their notes are saying, while Death Knight's damage is underperforming in raid environments, they are very strong in PvP to offset the increases to their base damage. We're reducing the effectiveness of two very strong honor talents. So, at least Blizzard did not forget about PvP. I mean, obviously, I feel like they should have done more than what you're saying right now. There's definitely some things they should have added in this, but yeah, at least they did something, I guess I could say about that. I think the Necrotic Strike thing was probably needed. The Abomination, now I'm actually curious if this is actually going to be what people pick now, because I feel like people may not pick this anymore. They might just pick the other honor talent. I don't know. It's just we're just going to see how this actually ends up playing out. And of course, the final thing is Temporal Shield is now 4-second duration instead of 6 seconds. While we like the predictive gameplay of Temporal Shield, in response to offensive pressure, we think the duration provides too much protection for a class that should fully focus on control and mobility for defense. I'm not sure if many people will think about this, and I could just be overthinking it. You guys can let me know. But I feel like this is kind of a buff maybe a little bit as well, because if it goes off sooner, like say for example you pop it right there and people just freaking absolutely nuke the freaking living crap out of you, and it goes off faster, that extra few seconds instead of 6 seconds, it could save your life. So I don't know. I feel like this might be a buff. Maybe I'm overthinking it. You guys can let me know in the comment section. But this is basically it. And just to basically give you another summary of what I think the Frost DK buffs are okay. I feel like they're one of the classes that need it. They're just mindlessly, like, I feel like damage bots, and their damage isn't necessarily that impressive. I mean, it's good now. I love the feel of Frost DK. Unholy, while they're getting basically a nerf and a buff, I feel like I guess we'll see how it plans out. I'm still interested in seeing how Unholy is going to be playing out. I think they're still going to be one of those stronger specs in the game. Destruction didn't even receive a nerf, so I'm assuming their Chaos Bolts is going to be even more deadly now. Well, 5% isn't necessarily that to go bonkers about. It's still pretty strong. Arms Warrior, they're pretty much going to remain the same, just hit harder. They're, in my opinion, one of the easier specs to kill in the game, unless, of course, they have a healer. That's what makes Arms good. I don't really have much to say about them. Outlaw don't really will affect them at all. Healing Shamans will now become strong. It's going to be very interesting seeing them around. Just another healer to add to the list. The Azerite traits, I really don't think this was needed at all, but that's just my opinion. Death Knights, this was needed. At least something had to be done for their buff to damage. It's pretty obvious something needed to be done about them. And Temporal Shield, basically, I feel like this is a buff. I could be overthinking it, but that's what I think. And this is it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know what you guys' thoughts are on all this. I'll see you guys later.